So in this After Effects crash course, I'd like to guide you and show you how you can actually create your own animations, and this way to rely less on AI. While AI really does amazing jobs in, let's say, in a plants or tree animations, I'd like to show you that with After Effects, we can create all kinds of different animations that you're gonna have a full control over. So it's really a beginner-friendly tutorial. Also, all the project files that I will be using in this course are in the link under this video. You'll find everything you need to follow me along. And now, very quickly, I would like to give a tour over the interface of After Effects. We start new project here. Then very important, I will be using Workspace, Essential Graphics. I think this workspace is the most easiest and most convenient, in fact. Then we have this toolbar here. We'll be using only three options, three tools: selection tool, there is a rectangle tool, and pen tool. The rest you can totally ignore. Then on the right side of the interface, you have all these options, but we'll be using none of it. So this will be covering perhaps in another tutorial, but really today in this course, it's not necessary. Then what we're gonna use is this area. This is where we're gonna import all our files. Then composition area or a timeline, and of course our window preview. So the part where the video will be visible. The rest of the things you will learn as we progress with our project, with our image animation, and I trust it will be an easy to follow tutorial. So let's start. Let's start by importing our image. To do that, we have two ways. We right-click, import, and file. We simply grab and drop over here. Next, we will create a composition. So by pressing this button that says create a new composition, with composition settings, we will define the resolution, frame rate, and duration of our final video. So composition name, I will call exactly final. I will keep it a Full HD resolution. You can change that by switching the preset. As you can see, there are quite a few of those. If you're going for a vertical style of video, you just simply choose a portrait. When it comes to frame rate, I most of the time go with a 30 frame rates per second. And then duration, start time code, always I leave at zeros, and then duration, let's make it 30 seconds. And that's all. I normally don't do nothing else, and then press OK. So here we have final composition tab, and here we're gonna drag everything what we want to compose. First, the image, drag and drop it. As you can see, the image is not fully visible. It is way too big for our composition. To match the image to composition size, right-click on an image, transform, and then press fit to comp width or height. Either of those normally work if, of course, the aspect ratio is matching. And then let's start with the first animation, and that is Flickering Stars. You'll be surprised how easy it is to do that. Let's start by right-clicking here, New, Solid. Then the name, let's call it Flickering Stars. By pressing make comp size, it will create exactly the same resolution as our composition is. And the color, and normally I go with black and press OK. Then there are these buttons. These are to hide each layer. And there is also another option with this dot that says solo. So by pressing here, we activate only the selected layer. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I will activate only the Flickering Stars because I don't want the image to be visible yet, and because image can slow down the rendering, slow down the preview window. Then click on the Flickering Stars. We go to Effect, Simulation, and we choose CC Particle World. So this is what we have by default. And we're gonna change that by going to particles. So I'd like to change particle type, faded sphere. And this is where the fun starts, because we have so much control over many aspects of the stars. And really don't be overwhelmed by so many options, so many numbers and choices, because really we're gonna be using a handful of options. And every single time I want to create a Flickering Stars effect, I repeat the same steps to create this animation. So birth size, I go with 0.03 and the depth size 0.03. Now they are quite small, but exactly this is the size I want. Then birth color and death color. I'll go with white, 100% white. Now we have color defined. Then max opacity, I push it to 100. Size variation, I'll make it 0. And really, before you follow every single step, just try and change the numbers and see what kind of results you get, just to get familiar of what each setting does. Then I'll hide the particles and I go to physics. And here in physics, as you can see, all the particles are moving and shooting up and then falling down. So I don't want that. I want them to be absolutely static. And to do that, we change velocity to 0. And now what we got? That those particles don't have speed, but they start to drop. And this is the gravity. And we take out the gravity and we make it to 0. And now as you can see, we have all particles centered in one place. And this red circle now represents the span point, a point where all the particles appear. So now all we have to do is expand it, make it bigger. And to do that, we go to producer. And here we're going to change the radius of that starting location. So we're going to start with X, which is horizontal. And we expanding just until it goes a bit off our composition. Then we do the same with radius Y, which is vertical. Maybe a bit more radius X, like that. So we fully cover the whole composition. And then radius Z, which is just the depth. If you adjust, you will see how the particles are changing. And because these are the stars, we don't have any depth basically. So let's keep it at 0. And I might go back to particles again and give a slight variation in size. How about we at 20%? Not much, just a bit. The next thing, let's not forget to save our work, because it do sometimes happen that the application can crash. Doesn't happen often, but it does sometimes. So we go to File and Save As. All right, so it's saved and then we can continue. Okay, before we continue, I would like to show you one thing, and I believe it's very important just so you understand. I will open a task manager and I want you to watch the memory. This is our RAM memory. So if I play it, you pay attention to the RAM memory. You see how it gets filled up so fast, and unfortunately it doesn't get deleted by itself. So if I continue editing, and it stays at that capacity. So basically 93% of my memory is taken already by just simply previewing this animation. And it is something that you're gonna have to make a habit. I do it almost every 30 seconds or every single minute. And that is to clean that memory so your application can function well. So you go to Edit, Purge, Memory. Either press here or Control, Alt, and the slash button next to the num lock, right? You clean that and you see that green line disappears, right? And the RAM is clean again. And every single time you preview something, especially if it's a heavy animation, the RAMs get full really fast. So you need to clean that. Again, Control, Alt, and the slash. Okay, so let's continue with the stars. There's one thing we have to fix, is that at the very first second we have no stars, and then as we move forward it gradually starts to appear. The fix is very easy. All we have to do, place the time indicator a couple seconds in. When you see this double arrow icon, just grab it and hold Shift button and it snaps to the time indicator. It snaps, then we take this whole layer and we drag it until the very beginning, hold Shift button to snap it, and here you go. And this way at the 0 second, our animation is already fully visible. And then we have to extend the layer by grabbing the very end of it and holding Shift button to snap it at the very end of composition, just like that. All right, great. So if you play, I feel like every single star is appearing and disappearing way too fast. I'd like it to be visible for a bit longer, so when it comes to longevity, I will increase to 4 seconds. Naturally, our density of the stars has increased as well. And to make the preview work faster, I will change the resolution to half. And here the birth rate defines the quantity of the stars. So how about we go with 5? And I'm thinking perhaps longevity, let's make it 3. And I would suggest you to play with these numbers and see whichever number combination is best for you, what looks more beautiful to you. Me personally, I like it when it's subtle, so I'll leave it like that. We got our stars ready, the animation is ready. What I will do next, I will uncheck the solo button. And what I'm gonna do, right click, recompose. Let's choose move all attributes into the composition. And we created basically another composition. It's a Flickering Stars. If you double click it, you will see that we have new tab open. And here in this composition, I want to make the stars loop. And one thing we have to fix, sometimes you will see that you have a starting point totally different. If you go to final, you will see that you have a 0. And if you go here, you will see 2 seconds 25. So right click anywhere and we go to composition settings. And simply where it says start time code, select all, press 0, and all is fixed. So now let's make a looping animation. As you can see, we have a clear jump. For this kind of animation, the fastest way and the best way, in my opinion, is to do that with opacity. So we select the layer, edit, duplicate, or Control D. Then I want to use only 6 seconds out of this duplicate. Then we go again, edit, split layer, or Control Shift D. And I will delete this longer part by pressing the delete button. I'll put the time indicator at 3 seconds, select this layer, edit, split layer again. So basically what I'm doing here is to create a transition. So this layer gonna act as a transition from the end to beginning. So if I drag the second part to the end, hold shift to snap it exactly at 0, and take this one and hold shift and snap it here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna activate this layer because this one and this ones are the same, and we're gonna create a continuation, and then we create a gradual transition from this to this. To do that, we're gonna use opacity settings. So you can either click the arrow, go to transform and find opacity, or make sure that all the layers are deselected by clicking here and then press letter T. And then you reveal all opacity from all the layers. So what I'll do here, I'll add opacity keyframe here with a 0. So drag it to 0. And this one gonna be opacity 100. Let's move time indicator to the end. Let's make it this one 0 and this one to 100. So what do you see? What we made a transition from one to another. And what I like to do, if you can select the keyframes like that. Okay. I like to create some kind of build up that the stars already starts to appear before the other layer starts to disappear. I find that it creates a more seamless transition. I will repeat the same step here. Opacity keyframe. We're gonna drag it to 0. And here, we don't need to click here anymore because it's activated. If you're gonna click it, you're just gonna delete everything. Okay, if you delete everything, you can always undo it with the Control Z. So to add another keyframe, we press on this button here. And I'll do the same here, goes to 0, and this one goes to 100. I will select both, move like that. And because I like to create some kind of build-up before the other one layer disappears, like that. And if you play, you will see that we have a very smooth transition. One very important thing to mention, if you play at the very end and you have this flicker, as you can see, it jumps 1 frame. It happens normally if you don't snap it, this layer at the very end of it, and you miss maybe 1 frame. If you place time indicator here, you will see it's a blank screen. All you have to do is zoom in like that, and you'll see that you are missing 1 frame, and move it like that. And if you're planning to change something in the stars, like this here, for example, I want to make birth rate 10. It's important to note that this layer has the same animation but doesn't get updated whenever you make some changes here. So what you can do simply, when you make an update, select here, Control C to copy, or just copy. And you select this layer, press here, activate this field, and Control V to paste or paste. And it gets updated. And we do the same here. Select, activate this area, Control V. Now I will undo everything because I don't want so many stars. Okay, and then we close it. And the easiest step left. We select the Flickering Stars, then we choose Pen Tool, and we create a mask in the sky where those stars should be visible. I select one mask, and perhaps I will create one more mask. And here you go. In this lesson, we're gonna do basic compositing. And we're gonna add a moon, we're gonna make it blend well with the sky, and we're gonna add a nice glow around it. So grab the moon image that comes together with this lesson, drag it into this area. Then we grab the moon and we drag it at the very top of it. The layering is important. If we were to drag the moon at the very bottom of it, it will be below the image and below the stars. So we need the moon to be at the very top of it. Then let's scale it down. We press on this arrow, we expand, we go to transform, and there is a scale. And we scale it down to the right size. How about that? And what we're gonna do, we're gonna select the moon. While we can use a pen tool to create the masks, there is this rectangle tool that we can create a really fast mask, especially if we have a perfect circular shape. Like in our case here, all we have to do press and hold left mouse button and we choose ellipse tool. And here is how we can create perfect masks with this tool. Press and hold left mouse button. Don't let it go. Okay, as you can see now, we can distort the shape. But I'd like to make it a uniform, perfect circle. To do that, we hold Shift button. And when you hold Shift button, you will see that you cannot distort anymore. It's in a perfect shape. So keep holding Shift button and keep holding the mouse button. Then press and hold spacebar button. And what we are able to do now, we can move the circular shape wherever we want. So we're holding 3 buttons right now. And we're just trying to determine the best positioning. So I'll be focusing on a top point of our mask. So I will align perfectly with the moon top. Then let it go the space bar and hold Shift still. Okay, like that. Then press space bar again just to align it perfectly. So you work with all these 3 buttons to create a perfect mask like that. Then I let it go of the mouse button first, and then let it go of all the other buttons. And we have a perfect mask created. Then select the moon, press on the selection tool, and let's move a moon the position where we want. Now we can collapse all our transformation and mask tools like that. Well, you will agree now that it doesn't look really good. It does not match the environment. And probably the most easiest fix is simply go to the mode. If you don't see it, you can toggle switch here. Go to the mode and set it to screen. Well, by default, it looks actually good. And you can stop here if you don't want to continue further and if you are fine with that. However, I do not like that we can see the stars through the moon. And this is where we will do some very basic compositing to at least remove these stars and yet make the moon blend well in the sky. Select the moon, edit, duplicate. Now I will hide the first moon, and on the second moon I will set the mode back to normal. And this is where comes one of my favorite compositing tools, and that is color overlay. So to find that, right click on the moon, layer styles, color overlay. Now by default it is in red color. However, we're gonna change that. So we press this arrow button to expand our settings and transforms. Then we have layer styles, and here you have a color overlay. Again, we expand it. And what we do here, and it really works well, especially with any kind of distant objects, because we have this what's so-called atmospheric fog. Now, as you can see in this image, we have the sky that has a blue color. But if you pay attention to the mountains as well have a blue tint to it. It is the same even with the forest, even though it is green, of course, but it has a blue tint to it. So this is what we call atmospheric fog. And to add atmospheric fog quickly, I always use color overlay because it's just that simple. So where is the color? We press on this red color. Then we choose a pick tool and we select the most dominant color that is around the moon. So I would say something like this color. And press OK. Okay, so now I have the most dominant color in the background. Then I enable that other moon that we have on top of it with a screen mode activated. Now look at that. It was simple as that. If I were to hide the moon below, you will see that we did a really great compositing and no stars are visible behind it. And yet the moon is matching the scene so much better. And if I were to go back again to the moon that we have here, just a quick tip for you for any future projects, for any future compositing. I never use it normally 100% opacity. Whenever I have any object or animals, perhaps, take birds for example, that are flying far away in a distance. I normally love to add an atmospheric fog on them with this color overlay by adding a certain percentage of opacity. That makes those birds, for example, blend better with the environment. I either choose a certain percentage or I go between certain blend modes like multiply, overlay, soft light or hard light. So this is something for you to consider for your future works and keep this in mind. It's a really handy technique and really it does the job very well and most important, really quickly. So I'll close that and again, I will activate the moon. And one more thing I'd like to add is a soft, subtle glow around the moon. And we're gonna use again the same ellipser tool that we created a mask. Because with the ellipser tool, we can also create shapes. So if I activate it, you have the colors. So stroke is on 0, that's good. I don't want to change nothing here. It won't be visible, but where is the fill? I press and I will change it to white color and I press OK. Then make sure that you don't have any layer activated or selected. Because if you have, it will by default gonna create a mask on top of that layer. So make sure you deselect any of those layers and press and hold left mouse button. And this way how we create a shape. Now again, I want to make it a perfect circular shape. I hold shift button and then press and hold a space button to move around. So something like that. All right. By having this layer selected, we go to Effects, Blur and Sharpen, and choose Fast Box Blur. What Fast Box Blur does, it just blurs the whole object. And if you press blue radius, you see now we're getting a nice glow already, like that. If you didn't position well, you can move it again. Let's go to Transform, and where's opacity? We can reduce opacity. Or something like that. So this is before and after. Looks really good for my taste. I really love the scene. I really love the way the moon looks. And all we have to do later is to add the reflection on the surface of the lake. That we will do once we have a water animation done. In this lesson, we're gonna create a water animation. First of all, I will disable all the layers except our background. This way we will have a faster preview. Then we're gonna start by creating a black solid color. Right click, new, solid. By default, it should be already matching the composition size and it should be black color. If it's not, change it to black. Press OK. Then for our convenience, let's change the name of this layer. And let's call it Water Noise. Then go to Effect, Noise and Grain, and we choose Fractal Noise. And with this noise, we're gonna create a water distortion. And as you can see, we have quite a few different fractal noise types, all kinds of shapes. But for our water animation, we will use basic, that's enough. Then there is noise type. Again, we have a couple variations, but I'll go with a soft linear, and we can adjust contrast. But again, I will go with default settings here. Then complexity, it affects the preview, it affects the rendering speed. And I don't need complexity to be high, I'll adjust to 3. Then evolution adds motion to this noise effect. And if you move evolution in time, you will see that the noise is changing and it is creating different shapes. So we will use keyframe animation here. We're gonna have to click here on a stopwatch to activate. And here is a very useful shortcut. If you press letter U, you will reveal all the keyframes that we have for a specific layer. So I want you to take the time indicator, move it all the way to the very end, and let's increase evolution, the first number here. Let's add 15. So this defines the speed. We're basically saying we want the evolution to go from 0 to 15 throughout these 30 seconds. So if you were to increase that number, well, the evolution speed increases as well. So this is what we have. Try to imagine this as water. Well, for me, it's a bit too fast. So I'll go with half of that. So 15, it's a great number. Again, this is where we have a full control. You can actually change the noise types, add more complexity, add more contrast and brightness. And this way you will make your project, your water animation, a unique one. Then we go to evolution options, and there is the cycle evolution. If you will take the time indicator just before the end, you play it, it's a clear jump. So fractal noise saves us time when we want to loop things. Check cycle evolution, you play the end, and you will see what a smooth transition. But I would like to mention one thing, that if now I will drag the time indicator faster. If you pay attention to the noise, if you watch in one point, you will see that it's very repetitive. So what does it do? It creates mini loops like of 2 or 3 seconds, and it keeps repeating them over and over again. That's not ideal for other animations, perhaps like smoke effect, but for water, I find it quite useful. So I'll keep that. Otherwise, if you want to add more variations to your water ripples, uncheck cycle evolution and use the same technique that we used for stars animation, and it works exactly the same with opacity. So this could be actually a homework, and just try it out and see how it works for you. Alright, so this noise effect gonna distort our lake surface. But before we do that, we have to make this look as if it's already a surface of the lake. And what I mean by that, we have to match the angle, the perspective of the lake. And that means we will need to use a 3D layer for that. Right click on water noise and activate as a 3D layer. All 3D layers have these arrows and rotational tools already on the layer. We could use those. However, I'd like to make it more simple for you. So we're gonna go to transform and we're gonna use rotations. What specifically I need rotation X, and we're gonna start to rotate like that. So now you see what I mean to create a lake surface. So we use rotation X, then position. So the first one is X, the second one is Y. So we need to move up and down. So let's move it down, about like that, and maybe I'll add a little bit more rotation. All right, the layer is a bit too small. We need to increase the size of it. What we do, again, make sure water noise is selected. We go to layer and black solid settings. Move this panel a little bit to the side, and where's width and height, we're gonna start increasing it. So let's start with width. And let's wait until this furthest point is outside the screen. Okay, something like that. Then, where is the height? Now let's increase the height. Let's push it even more. about like this and width like this. Press OK. We can adjust again a bit later. If you zoom out, you will see that the layer is extending quite a bit outside our composition. So we can fix that by moving this part more in Z-axis. Where's the position? We take the last number here and we move it up. You see? Now the composition is moving inside. And I will adjust rotation, X rotation, just to match the lake surface a bit better. And yeah, we have to play a little bit with numbers to find the best position, like so. And then we go again back to solid settings. And let's extend a bit more the height and the width. Press OK, and again, move a bit in Z-axis. Where is position? We move a bit more. And then let's reduce rotation. So I'm not planning to cover the water animation all the way there in the distance. The most important is the one closest to the camera. Because we don't have water in this part, we can go to position and adjust the first number, which is X. So this point goes outside the screen. All right, like that. So now we have our lake surface. We could add actually a little bit of more animation to that, a subtle one. Go to Effect, Distort, Turbulent Displace. I will click this arrow to collapse the fractal noise. Now here there is no one number or one displacement that fits all, and this is where you can change the numbers, change the type of displacement, and just simply see what looks good for you. And in my case, I will keep displacement as is. Then amount, I will keep it subtle, about 3 here, perhaps something like this. And then evolution, it works the same as with fractal noise. We make sure that time indicator is at 0. We press on a stopwatch, move the time indicator all the way to the very end, and let's add 15. And in evolution options, again, let's make it cycle evolution. So we have a smooth transition from the end to beginning. Well, in order to see the difference, there is this effects button. If you click it off and on, you will see that there is a slight change in distortion. Okay. And we're done with the fractal noise. So what I want you to do, right click on water noise, pre-compose, move all attributes into the new composition and press OK. Now we can hide it. I will take the water noise, I will drag it almost at the very bottom. Then right click, new, adjustment layer. Now by default, adjustment layer doesn't do nothing. But let's take it and drag it just above our water noise. Then go to Effect, Distort, Displacement Map. Now by default, displacement map makes distortion based on a selected color. But in our case, we choose luminance. But what's important, displacement map layer. So this is where water noise comes in. We go here and we choose that we want to use water noise for distortions. If I will activate the water for a moment, you will see that it uses these black and white patches. And the luminance here in particular is targeting all the brightest spots of this layer in order to create a distortion. And that later it can project that distortion to anything what is below the water noise. And in our case is our background image. It can happen that you might have this kind of glitch on your screen, such as I do. And it's something that started to be common in 2026 After Effects. I personally, I don't know the explanation for that. I don't know why it happens exactly, but the fix is easy for that. We have to increase color depth from 8 bits to 16 bits per second. And to do that, where is this button? Hold Alt button and click on it, and it will convert to 16 bits per second. Now it's a bit more demanding, but it gives more detail to each color and it fixes the error. All right, so let's continue with our water animation. We go to adjustment layer and let's make some adjustments here, and Let's make the water ripples more realistic. Reduce horizontal distortion, about like that, and let's increase vertical. Okay, so now we're talking. Look at that. So this is how I like to create water ripples. And the best thing is, don't limit yourself to this number. You can really go crazy. You can increase the distortion even further. The next step is we have to make sure that the water appears only on the lake surface. To do that, let's hide adjustment layer so the image is not distorted. We can clearly see. And to create mask, we're gonna use the pen tool. Now, to showcase you one issue, I will make a quick selection here. So this will be my first mask, and I will enable adjustment layer. So what we have here, we have a great mask. However, the railing here is spilling out and it doesn't look good. So we have to do something about it. And the easiest way to fix that is we move the mask a bit more further away from the objects that gets distorted and projected into our mask. So like that, point by point, we move it. And I am not sure if you can see it, but we have also a black color distortion that comes from outside the screen, and the fix is the same. We're gonna have to move every single pin a bit further away from any kind of edges like that. And with the rest, I am quite satisfied. Perhaps I will add more mask here. And there is this button that will hide the mask temporary, and this is the toggle mask and shape path visibility. And what I want to show you is this line that we have when we created the mask. Now in adjustment layer, whereas the masks, let's open the mask number 1, and there is this mask feather. And if you pay attention to this line, we're gonna increase the feather, how well it blends together with the rest of the image. Would you look at that? Looks so good. Well, we have a little bit of railing going out there. Press again on toggle mask. Perhaps I will add one extra pin here and I will move it like that. Perfect. Looks really good, and all we have to do now, create a couple more masks with the same pen tool on adjustment layer, and let's keep a distance between any kind of objects. Then open the mask number 2 and add a bit of feather. Now we can add a few more masks. And here is a very handy shortcut. If you select layer and you press letter F, you will relieve all the mask feather settings of this layer. And one more mask here. Okay, perfect. And would you look at that? The next thing we're gonna do is a moon reflection. And what's most important, we're gonna make that moon reflection to react with a water animation. And it might sound complicated, but you'll be surprised how easily it can be done. So I'll disable the flickering stars just so the preview renders faster. Then make sure that no layer is selected. Choose a pen tool. Now I have a stroke here added, so I'll reduce to 0. And the fill color, it's white color. That's perfect. With this pen tool, we're gonna create a random shape, something that resembles a reflection of the moon, really a random shape. Then for convenience, I will rename this shape layer by pressing rename, moon reflection. Then we go to effect, transition, and gradient wipe. In gradient layer, we're gonna choose that we want this moon reflection shape to react to water noise. And now by increasing transition completion, we're gonna see that this shape starts to react with a water noise. So let's make the transition perhaps around 50%. Again, there is no one right number here. Then transition softness, it will soften the edges of each spot there. Like this. Still looks pretty ugly because we have very defined edges over there. To fix that, we select moon reflection, go to effect, blur and sharpen, and fastbox blur. And if I were to do that now, well, it's not gonna work, right? It blurs all reflection and it kind of destroys our work. So in this case, what I want to do is take the fastbox blur. I want to start the blurring process before we're gonna use the gradient wipe. So if I hide it for now and I increase blur radius like that, and then if we activate gradient wipe already works on the shape that has already a blurred area. So this is before and after. As you can see, it perfectly reacts with the water animation. All we have to do is fix this area here because it gets projected onto the railing. And to fix that, we have to create a mask. However, we cannot create a mask on the shapes. We have to first right click and pre-compose it. Of course, we have to make sure that we move all attributes into the new composition and press OK. Now nothing has changed. That's great. Then we select a pen tool. And in this case, I will select the area I want to remove from the water reflection. So something like that. And once you made that selection, press M letter to show the mask. And where it says add, change to subtract. And here is the final result. Okay, in this lesson, we're going to learn how to create a smoke rising from the chimney. Let's start by pressing right mouse button here, new, solid. My width and height are totally different from the composition, so I'll press make comp size. I will rename it here. Let's call it smoke. And as always, make sure it's a black color and press OK. Next, we go to effect, noise and grain, and fractal noise again. And here what works best for me personally, but you are feel free to try all the other options, all the different combinations of fractal type and noise type. But I'll go with basic and spline. I will adjust the contrast a bit, some brightness maybe a bit less. Then complexity, I will reduce complexity. I don't need so much detail. I will reduce the preview to half resolution. We will create a rising smoke animation with a transform and offset turbulence. So place the time indicator at the very beginning, press on offset turbulence. By having smoke layer selected, let's press letter U to reveal the keyframe, and I'll place the time indicator at the very end, and I will increase offset turbulence in a Y axis. So that means it's gonna go up like that. So I might put minus 5000 and we can preview the speed. Yeah, that works. That works for me. So this is the basis of our animation. By having this layer selected, I will pick a pen tool and I will create a mask that resembles a smoke, like that. I will press here to isolate the layer. We created a mask, and you can always adjust the mask later. At the moment, I'm fine with how it's looking. Then I will press letter F to show the mask feather, and I will increase the feather, like so. Now it's a bit too detailed for me personally, and I would like to make it a bit more blurry. So I will do that by going to Effect, Blur, and we're gonna add a fastbox blur. And here I will add blur radius. Okay, I'm fine with that. I will collapse both of those. Then the next interesting effect, or rather a tool, is Effect, Distort, Bezier Warp. Now here, don't be overwhelmed by all these numbers and all these options. I will totally ignore them. Just make sure that Bezier warp is selected. And if you zoom out, you will see all these points here. And these points distort the layer. So if I'll take this point and move it, you will see the distortion happens towards the middle section of our smoke, right? So what I'll do, I will distort a couple of these points. It helps us to create more interesting shapes. How about that? So if I were to press here, you will see before and after. Okay, so this is what we've got, and then I will add one more effect that is, if we go to effect, distort, and turbulent displace. Here we're not gonna create any animations, just a bit of the distortion, extra distortion. I will choose turbulent smoother, and here you see, adjust the number to see what looks good for you. I kind of will go maybe something like that. I might increase the blurriness a bit more. Yep, I'm happy with the effect. What I will do now, right click, pre-compose, and make sure you choose this option, press OK. Then I'll go inside the composition and I will create a loop just like before. I will duplicate, edit, duplicate. Then we're gonna split the layer, delete, again, split layer. And we do like before. One goes at the very beginning, another one goes at the very end. We select all, we press letter T for opacity, and we adjust opacity keyframes. Okay, I'm very satisfied. I will close this composition. Then where we have a smoke, let's change the mode. If you don't see it, toggle switch. Let's change it to screen. It changes to screen. Then let's go to transform, where is a scale. Let's scale it down, grab it and place it above the chimney. I will scale a bit more. We can improve, slightly improve by creating two masks. I will create one mask here. I will press letter M and I will subtract it. I want the smoke to fade out as it is rising up, and we will do that by adding feather like that. And then I will create one more mask just to add a bit more precision of where the smoke is coming out, because at the moment it's on top of it. I will switch from add to subtract, and I will add just a touch of feather, maybe just 2 points, maybe 6, like that. I might take the mask, double click, you can move it up a bit more, like that. And if you want, you can reduce opacity, just press letter T. And here's the result. And the last animation, we're gonna add on a lantern. We're gonna add a subtle glow that is flickering in random intervals, and we're gonna duplicate the same effect, and we're gonna add on these string lights over here, at least a couple of them. First, we're gonna make sure that no layer is selected. We go to rectangle tool, hold left mouse button, and let's choose ellipse tool. Then with the ellipse tool, where is fill, let's change the color to something that is matching the lantern here. Take the picker and just select the surrounding area. Perhaps we can increase the saturation like that and create a shape. Then let's go to effect, blur, fast box blur, just to create that glow that we want, like this. Now we have a glow, and what I'll do next, I will reduce opacity to something subtle. If you feel like, there's another option. If you can increase opacity to 100, you can change the blend mode, perhaps to overlay or a soft light, and there is no one option that fits all. So Then I want you to open a wiggle animation script text file that comes together with the project files. And here we have this code that I'm not gonna try to explain to you, because all you have to do is just basically copy and paste it. And I will show you where to do that. Where is the opacity? Stopwatch button. Hold Alt button and press on it. It becomes a red color here, and it gives us text area where we can add our code. Right click and paste. I will isolate to show you better. So what does it do? Frequency. I even wrote it down, that how fast goes the flicker. Okay, so you can easily adjust that, for example, even to 8, and you will see how fast it flickers. Or if you like something more subtle, you can put 1. And you have this slow pulsing light. Amplitude is something that you have to set a starting point. So by pressing here, I could choose perhaps 30%. So when it's 30%, and amplitude defines that in this case, the opacity can go by 20 more points up to 50, or can go 20 points less until opacity of 10%. And it's totally random. So this just gives a limit, maximum 20. And if you move time indicator, you will see that the number is moving totally randomly. And then the loop time, which is 30 seconds, that is exactly matching the composition. And it's that simple. And if you play, you will see we have a subtle flickering over there. Now what we can do, select the layer, edit, duplicate, take the layer. Now this is what's so-called an anchor point, the center of our object, of our shape, but it's totally mismatching. So if you press here and then hold Control button and double click on this pan behind button, double click, and you will see this anchor point goes in the middle. It's just for convenience. And I will place it here. I will perhaps make it bigger, and maybe I will reduce opacity. Control D, you can duplicate and place to another place. And by default, each of these lights will start to flicker differently. If you open the opacity, you can adjust the script, this code, and even though it's the same, the randomness at which each light is flickering is totally different. And just like that, this video composition is so much more interesting. And now I will show you how you can export the final video, so you can import it to your preferred video editor, perhaps DaVinci Resolve or CapCut or Premiere Pro. And to export, simply select the composition you want to export. My composition is final, so I'll select Final, File, Export, Add to Render Queue. I have already one job here. I will delete this one. And by default, this is what you're supposed to see. Render settings. Here, normally, I leave it quality at best, and I rarely change anything. So I leave it as it is. Then output module format. This H.264 renders as MP4 file. This is a compact, small file version. However, if you want a maximum and the best quality that is actually lossless, go with the QuickTime. And then the rest just simply leave as is. Don't overcomplicate yourself. But in our demonstration, I will go with the H.264. And then in format options, very important, target bitrate. Well, ideally you should go with something that is no less than 10. And in order to preserve the quality of the video, I would suggest you to go with 20 if it's a full HD resolution. Then press OK again, and here in output you select the location where you want to save it. And that's all, and you press render.